Hey there. This video is going to teach you about how return statements work in JavaScript. And to begin with, we're here in JS Fiddle, and we're going to start with a little bit of code that has things in it that I think you already understand. You should know about arguments in functions before you watch this. I'm not going to explain those. So we have a function right here, and the function is called right here. The argument in this function, it has the variable name phrase, and when we call the function, we are passing this string in, and that is phrase. Once the function starts using it, that is the value of the variable phrase in the function. So right here, that when we run this, it is hello my friend. Now one thing here that you don't know yet, and that is split. And this is a method that will take any string, no matter how long it is, and it will split it into separate items and put them in an array. What's the name of the array? The name of the array is words right here. So we didn't make an empty array. We're just going to right away just make it and immediately fill it up with stuff. Okay? So we're going to split on whatever character appears in the parentheses after the word split. And since it's quotation marks around one single empty space, we're going to split on the spaces. So down here in our string, you can see we have 2 spaces and 3 words. So we should get an array that has 3 things in it. So I will run this and we'll see what we get. Yep, that's what we got. So we now have an array that has these 3 strings in it. Hello, my, and friend. Those are 3 strings. All right, now we are going to stop using alert very soon. For now, we will continue to use it. So here comes the return. This is the beginning of how to use the return. So I'll take out the alert from the function. The alert is no longer in the function. And on the same line, I have replaced alert using the same array, the array named words. Now we're going to return that array instead of just alert it. Okay, returning it where? Where does it go? As with so many things, if we don't have a variable prepared to catch what is returned, then what is returned will just disappear. It's not saved anywhere. So how do we make something that will hold what is returned? Okay, line 7, the same line 7 we had before, we are going to add a var. We will name it result, and we will make it equal the function that we're calling. So I know this is a little bit mind-blowing the first time you see it. But remember, we were calling the function, we're making it run. You know how to do that. That we've already done. This function has a return. It returns something. Okay? That's what this line does. Where does that returned stuff go? It is going to land in this variable, and that variable will hold it for us. Now, if we wanted to alert what we've got out of the function, we could do that with alert. And what are we going to send with our alert? What is our alert going to show us? This. It is going to show us what was caught when the function ran from the return. So, result. A typical alert like you're used to seeing, and we run. And same thing. Not that exciting because you've already seen that, but it's the first step to understanding how does a return work. Now, I want to do something instead of this alert because I'm very, very tired of seeing the alerts pop up and moving the screen all around, at least for the alert boxes. So I'm going to put in something else that will actually write to the HTML. And you're going to see this in your assignment 7. I'm not going to explain it too much. I'm just going to say this is going to write the result into the HTML instead of popping up an alert. So I delete that line, and in its place, I put this long thing. But notice the key is that variable result is still what is giving us our information. Okay, so I will run this again so that you see we are still going to have hello, comma, my, comma, friend, because that's our array with 3 strings in it. So when I run this now, instead of popping up an alert, it actually writes it into the result pane over here. Okay, it doesn't change the HTML at all, but it will write it over here. And I also would like to work with a longer phrase than hello, my friend. So I am going to change hello, my friend to we want nothing but cookies today. And when I run this, you'll see how this is an array with, now we have an array with 6 strings in it. We want nothing but cookies and today. So 6 strings. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my function a little more complicated. So inside my function, I am going to set up a brand new empty array. You've seen that before, okay? It's going to be called pigged. I'll explain pig Latin in a moment just in case you don't know what that is. And I am going to add a for loop that I've already written. So I will copy and paste that now. All right, now I will explain that, and let's pull up our pane here. Okay, so this part you understand. This took a phrase and split it on the spaces and made it into an array. This makes a brand new empty array. And what does our for loop do? Well, our for loop is going to loop through the array that we already had, the array with the name words. Okay, so you know that the words in there right now are we want nothing but cookies today. Okay, so words is an array containing 6 strings, and we're going to loop through it var I in words. So that means for each index, we are going to go through it, and we are going to take first index 0 and do something to it, and then index 1 and do something to it, etc. So the first thing that we're going to do with our words in the array is we are going to make a new variable. We are going to take that first word in the array, the first item, and we're going to run substring on it, which is explained in the Code Academy exercises, so I don't have to tell you what that means, except that I'll just mention it'll take the first letter, okay? And then it will take the rest of the word. So from character 1, not 0, but 1, character 1, on to the end of the word, okay? And then it's going to put those things together in the order of the word with the first letter missing, and then the first letter. So if you played with Pig Latin when you were a little kid, you know that to say hello, my friend in Pig Latin, you would say Elohe, I may, end fray. And so what you're doing is you're taking the first letter off, you're putting it at the end of the word, and you're tacking on the syllable a to make it sound like fake Latin, which is why it's called Pig Latin. Okay, so that's what we're actually doing here to each word in the array named words. We are going to make each word a Pig Latin word, okay? And what are we going to do with those things? We are actually going to use another method you haven't seen before, push, and it's very handy because we are going to push each new word, each Pig Latin word, into the array that we made right here, the array named pigged. And because of that, I don't want to return words anymore. I want to return pigged. So I don't have to change anything else on the page. I'm just changing what I returned. And the stuff down here, not touching it, okay? I just changed what is being returned when I run the function. And now I'll run it. So now I see the contents of my new array. The contents of my new array, named pigged, the contents are iwe, untwe, uthingne, utbe, ukiske, udete. Pig Latin, okay? So one more round of this so that you can see how the return is very, very flexible. Okay, so the extra thing I'm going to do is I am going to add the method join to the array pigged. And I know you might be freaking out and saying, oh my gosh, she gave us split, she gave us push, now she gives us join. These are all very common methods that we use on arrays, and they're very well documented all over the place. But remember, I'm really only trying to show you how flexible a return is. And so, if you're not understanding every bit about how split and push and join work, relax. But join is kind of the opposite of split. So split, join, you can think about that. So split makes an array out of a string that has a whole bunch of words in it. Join does the opposite. It makes a string out of an array. And in between each of the items from the array, it puts whatever you put in the parentheses. So because I am representing the character of one space within these quotation marks, it's going to just put one space in between each item in the array. So can you sort of picture what it might do? Remember, what we had last time was the array with all the commas and no spaces. So I'm going to run it. This time, we have the same Pig Latin, okay? Iwe, untwe, uthingne, utbe, ukiske, udete. We have the same things, but now they are separated by spaces. There are no commas. We're not looking at an array anymore. We are actually looking at a string. So what I've done in this demo is I have shown you that by changing what is returned, we have a very flexible way of getting out of functions whatever it is we really need to get out of them. But getting it out, we can do with it anything we want. We could do an alert, we could do this and that. So in other words, we're not embedding an alert or a print or a console log or a document get element by in the function. The function merely spits out a result. And when we use it outside the function, we can do anything we want with that result, with what was returned by the function. So that's how returns work. And I know they're a little tricky. They were really hard for me to understand when I started programming. Now we've just touched on returns in this demo, but I wanted you to realize that returns can look like a lot of different things. Like sometimes we just say return so that we can jump out of a function and stop it in the middle. Sometimes we return true or false. Sometimes we return 2 or 3 or 4 different variables. You've seen we can return an array. We can return a string. It's pretty much limitless. Real programmers use returns in their functions. So returns are really worth your time to learn.